Welcome to another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on an unknown age from Basingstoke, England. However, she has called the Shed's honey hole home, Cardiff, Wales, for the last 26 years. She is another Shed doctor and a lecturer at Swansea University and is the program director of criminology and criminal justice. But she is best known for her deep dive into the minds of Shed guys and why they want to beat the wheels off each other, as she has been running amok, researching violence in hockey for the past 16 years and starred in the film Ice Guardians with a bunch of Shed guys. And we're unsure who's interviewing who today. Welcome to the Shed, Dr. Victoria Silverwood.
What an introduction. I like the unknown age bit. I just still haven't decided how old I am yet.
Oh, that's okay. It doesn't matter. But, I could maybe put so when did you move from Basingstoke to Cardiff? How old were you?
You can't fox the researcher.
Shoot. So I get into how we know each other. I guess you reached out to me to start with, and you were talking about researching my brain, right?
That sounds really disturbing.
Right. But you're doing research for EIHL players from 2007 to 2015, the guys that played there then, right? Which would be in my wheelhouse. Yeah.
Just towards the end.
So it's still that bracket of ages, 2007, 2015, like that's when they played in the EIHL. You just focus on that time frame?
Yeah, so I'm doing a few projects at the moment, but one of them is going back to my kind of first research that I did before I became an academic to get my PhD, which sort of started with masters in 2007 and went up to the time I submitted my PhD in 2015. And because I've got loads of really, really interesting kind of data and stories and kind of interviews, I wanted to see whether there'd been a difference in the last sort of 7-8 years, or we're getting in for 9. It's frightening how quickly it's going. To see whether people's attitudes have changed. Some of you guys have retired, some of you are still playing. So see whether things have changed as they've tried to change the sport to be a bit more aware of head injuries.
So it's mainly head injuries is why you got into this?
No, not at all, actually. Head injuries is kind of my thing, I think, has changed. But so I was a hockey fan when I was in Basingstoke, then moved to Cardiff and then ended up being a Devils fan because I'm a turncoat like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was watching more of, so became a Devils fan. And then I went back to uni, did my masters and everything. I was going to do something to do with my previous job, which was in youth justice and criminal defence for my research. But I was watching hockey and I was just thinking, oh, you know what, this is really interesting because players talk about the fact that they're playing on the ice, they're fighting on the ice and they're not like that off the ice. And I thought there must be some good academic research about this. But when I did a literature search, they're pretty much nothing. So I thought, well, why don't I do it? So my first master's, I decided not to do anything that might help my career, like crime prevention or youth justice or anything, and decided to look at how we define legitimate violence.
So but you almost kind of chose to follow your passion than maybe what your career should have been, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I'm so glad I did.
It's like going out to your shed.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was really cool actually because it meant that I got paid for several years doing my PhD to watch hockey, and I still get paid to watch hockey now.
You're living that.
So living the dream.
That is awesome. It's fun. It's interesting. The people that have passion for hockey, they find a way to be involved in hockey, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I love the Ice Guardians. Fantastic film.
Yeah, I was really, really pleased. I was so lucky that I got involved in it. Just happened
I think
to be
it's a bit of horse manure, though, if I'm bringing it up, is that my team's playing, I'm playing in the game, and I'm just a little bit out of the camera all the time. My line's out there scoring goals and getting breakaways, and I'm just out of the camera shot, right? Matthew Myers,
you obviously weren't doing your job of scoring goals.
Right, but I didn't even get in the film, but a bunch of Shed guys are in there, right? Cardiff against Belfast.
There are, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't even meet the team then when they were in Cardiff. They were in Cardiff for a night because they were following Belfast a bit. And I didn't meet them then. It was only after they'd finished that they kind of reached out on Twitter and said, "We want to speak to you. Can you come out to Vancouver?" So I was super happy that they didn't catch me in Cardiff, because then I got a trip out to Vancouver for a few days.
So I guess, yeah, I don't know where to go here, but I guess the Ice Guardians. So how did they find you, and so you had been doing the research for years then?
Yeah. Yeah, and so I didn't watch much hockey between probably 2013 and 2015, because I was trying to write my PhD, 120,000 words in the end.
120,000
Yeah,
words?
yeah.
And was
It's
that
like that
on
thick.
hockey then? That was on
Yeah, all on violence and hockey. Yeah.
120,000 words. But you know what? That sounds like way more fun to write about than what I did my master's paper on, which was only, I think I only had to do like 10,000 words.
Wow. Yeah. I could
That's
probably,
that's
yeah, I
nothing.
overwrite. I find it harder to write less.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
once
I
you get
reckon.
it, it's like me talking in my shed, right? Everybody says, "Wow, that was really long." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, I get talking." I guess you get writing, eh?
Yeah, I try to. Yeah. But I think I found I couldn't really watch the sport too much when I was writing up, because I kind of wanted to change things all the time and add things, and I just had to get it done. So I didn't watch too much in that
Right.
last couple of years at the tent.
You had done the
And then,
watching, but how do you do the research then? You interview guys. What do you ask?
well, so my first master's was interviewing players, referees, and league officials, who were talking about the fighting. So I used to work for the what's it called? Honeypot, whatever you call the Cardiff lot.
Honeypot? What?
What is it you call the Devils, the Cardiff
Oh, the honey hole.
honey hole? There you go.
That's where you go fishing and catch lots of fish, right?
Yeah,
That's a honey hole. Sorry for folks that don't
honey.
understand my language. And another way how we know each other is when I posted your coming on, you said, "I wonder what the over under is on running amok." And you know what, folks? I made it up, so I get to say it as much as I want, right? But
Yeah,
it sounds
so
like
I
you
was
started your shed way before I did, and you're kind of doing the same thing, eh? But you're mainly focusing on the violence.
Yeah. So after I finished with my initial masters, my second masters in research methods was about fans' ideas about violence in sport. So I did big surveys and interviews. But my PhD itself was basically a year's observation of a hockey team, which legally is unnamed. Um, and I was really, really lucky that the players involved were very happy for me to kind of stand on the bench during games and pester them and just get involved the whole time. So I did a year of sort of non-participant observation, and lots of interviews and chats.
Well, that's really cool. So you're just
Yeah,
right along with the team, and then it's your PhD, so you're getting paid to do that.
yeah. It's a hard job.
But that's pretty neat. You didn't even have to do all the workouts. I hated the workouts, so you got to just be part of the team.
Yeah, no, I didn't have to do any. That was the best bit.
Yeah, I don't have to anymore. Well, that's really neat. So then you did that. That's how you write 120,000 words. Is that something people can get hold of and read?
Yeah, it's on the internet. If you just Google it on regular Google, it should come up.
What's it called?
It's available as a free access. But I will be writing it into a book, which is why I'm returning back to players that played in the league during that time, to
That's
kind of
cool.
combine the two together to make a kind of comparison book.
Well, that'd be really neat. Yeah, you'll have to come back to the shed when you're on your book tour, right? Okay, so you have lived in Cardiff though for 26 years.
I have
Why'd you move from Basingstoke?
Work and study.
Work and study.
Yes, yeah.
So did you go to Cardiff University or Cardiff Metropolitan? The Met.
Well, I go to neither now, but I did go to the proper one, which was Cardiff University.
The proper one's the Met, folks. They got my wall up, or my picture up on the wall there, you know? So that's the proper one. Have you ever been to Chippy Lane?
Of course I have. I can't live in Cardiff for 26 years and not have
I
experienced the joys that is Chippy Lane.
I agree. So, if you were gonna go out and run amok tonight, what would you be ordering on Chippy Lane?
Oh, I'm quite, I don't know, quite standard probably. Just a nice chicken sheesh, nice bit of
Sheesh.
crunchy salad and some garlic sauce. Yeah,
Sheesh. That's like the
that's kebabs, skewers.
yeah on a skewer, right? That
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah. Okay. So you said what kind? Chicken and a
chicken. Yeah,
salad. People eat salad on Chippy Lane.
you do. You put it in with everything else, with the chicken and with the wrap.
Oh, okay. That sounds pretty good then. Yeah.
Yeah,
They get a
nice bit of
wrap with
crunch.
it too. Yeah.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
sounds
nice bit of
good.
crunch. It's all good.
So then you're probably peeling the chicken off the skewer and putting it in the wrap, eh?
Oh no, they do it. They do that bit for you.
Mm.
They just cook it on a skewer and then they put
Jeepers,
it in
you're
the wrap.
making me hungry. Okay. Good answer. I think that's the first time I've heard that answer. So if you lived in Cardiff for 26 years, have you ever met Dease?
Of course, I've met Dease. Yes.
Did you ever get a deep dive into his brain?
Oh yes. On several occasions, I've had a deep dive into the fascinating brain of Dease.
Isn't it fascinating?
It is. It is. No, he was really helpful at the start of my research and stuff. I was chatting to him about things and getting low down on things, and he's a chatty guy, isn't he? So
Sure is.
you get a lot more information from someone like Deese about stuff than many people who are a bit more cautious.
Yes, I would agree with that. He's not cautious. Here's this. Do you know Dr. Russell Cowley? You do?
Sorry, I just missed that. I
Oh,
think
sorry.
you went funny for a bit.
Oh dear. Do you know Dr. Russell Cowley?
Start again.
Oh dear. It's okay.
I do. I've never met him actually.
You haven't. He's a researcher doctor guy too, right?
He
So
is, and we both worked at the same place a few years ago, but in different departments. And yeah, he's doing great stuff. But we haven't met in person yet. But hopefully we will.
okay. Yeah. And Ice Guardian, some of the fellas I knew on there, right? Small world. So how did it work? Did you meet all the people in the movie?
No, so the first time, so they contacted me on Twitter and said, I think you seem to be doing research on hockey and no one else is. So like 2 weeks later, they got me on a plane out to Vancouver, and I didn't really know who they were interviewing and what was going on. But at that point, it was just me. And then I kept in touch with the director and the producer over the summer because I thought, oh, I'll end up on the cutting room floor, but still, I got a trip to Vancouver out of it, so I'm
Yeah.
happy. And then they were beginning to sort of publicize it, doing the adverts and things, and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely in it. I could hear my voice in the trailer. But it's only when I went to the film premiere, which is in Toronto at the film festival, that I met a lot of the other guys who were in it and
So the
had like
movie
a
was already
proper.
made. So you went to Vancouver and got interviewed and answered questions, and then they just made the movie with everybody's bits.
Yeah, so they'd done most of the player interviews by that point, but Brett, the director, really wanted to put in a kind of broader understanding as well, I guess, of why it happens and what the positives are of it. So that's why they kind of involved me. But the funny bit was because it was all over Twitter rather than like properly through university email or anything like that. I didn't really know what to expect, and the producer sent me a photo of the production assistant who was going to be picking me up at the airport, and with a name. But then, because the producer and I were Facebook friends by that point to arrange the travel, I was like, that's a person that I've seen in his Facebook under a different name. So I was really, really freaked out that who was picking me up from the airport. And after like, I don't know, 15 hours traveling or whatever, you get to the airport, I suddenly realized I hadn't worked out what I was going to say to immigration about what I was doing there because it
Yeah.
wasn't work, but it was work, but it wasn't work. Freaking out about it, and then get picked up in this car that you can't open the doors from the inside. Is kind of the
Really?
yeah. And I was like thinking, like, there's a 99% chance here that I'm not coming back alive. I'm just going to be taken to some weird place in Vancouver.
I've definitely
And
never
ended
been in a
like,
car you can't open the door from the inside.
oh no, it was broken. It was just yeah, it wasn't like fancy. It was just his car. Um, but yeah, no, it was lovely. But I remember just being really freaked out that I may not come back alive when I nobody knew where I was really.
So,
And then
wow.
also I was freaked out.
What's
I
that?
was asking them about who else. I was asking who else they were interviewing that week, and they were like, "Oh no, just you this week." And I was like, oh man, they're going to be so disappointed that they just got me that week. And I might not be able to help them at all or might be able to say anything. But it worked out really well. They were very patient and they're great guys.
And I watched the movie before. And the research team wanted to watch it again before you came, but it's been busy. So I never did get around to it this week once we decided we were doing this. But what is your stance on it? Do you have a stance on it, or do you just do research and come up with whatever?
I have so many stances all the time.
Okay. I do too.
Yeah, so my views change. They do ebb and flow a little bit. So I'm really conflicted, I guess that's the right way of putting it, because I see the need to have a physical element of the sport, and I see the limitations in that happening without being able to blow off the steam with a fight. Mm-hmm. So my kind of stance is pro fight, and when I'm at a game, I'm always going to be like standing up and wanting to see what's going on and watching. But at the same time, I'm kind of aware that it's probably not always the best thing to happen. I think the reason why I still like it and will still watch it and cheer for it is because I don't think fighting's a problem with the brain injuries that we're seeing. I think that's generally from the rest of the sport. I think fighting isn't the problem at all. And in fact, taking it out just leads to other injuries.
I think taking it out would lead to more head injuries because the hits will be worse and nobody will do nothing about it. It was like, I thought hockey was at its purest form in 2014-15 in the EIHL. That season of hockey, you can YouTube the Cardiff Devils fights. Like, we weren't making that much money on that team for guys to be doing what they were doing. But like, the Sheffield Steelers had guys willing to do it. The Belfast Giants did. We did. Every team like Glasgow Clan or Braehead, they had a bunch of guys too. And those were the best teams in the league, were the teams that had guys willing to step up every night and show the guys on their team what they're willing to do, and also show the other team what they're willing to do. And I think when you go out to compete in hockey, it's not a war, but you can't give the other team an inch. As soon as you give them an inch, then they have that inch, and you need people to fight for each other, to get the fans going. There's so many different reasons to fight, but there are reasons that could be taken out of the game. Like, I think the times where two guys would say, hey, in warm up, let's start the game with a fight. Like, what? That doesn't do anything. That's just gonna, it doesn't do anything. But the passion, like, there's a reason for it to happen, and it has to happen for your team to win.
Yeah. And I think in like 2009, 2010, that was the year that we had a lot of kind of fighting for show, fighting to try and get some fans in, and like stage fighting and those kind of real characters like Sean Morrow and people like that. And I think that's definitely gone, but I think they've gone too far the other way in actually just intervening. Like at the weekend, Cardiff Devils had a game against Fife, and an instigator penalty was called against Josh Britton for completely consensual fight, and then it just ruins the flow of the game and ruins everything. Because the instigator penalty is my biggest bugbear, really.
The instigator penalty, I think that you definitely should get it if you're really going after a guy and he wasn't antagonized. But when people are asking to get beat up, just because you dropped the gloves first, that's not instigating. If the guy's being a punk, he's being a punk, right?
Yeah. And a lot of the time, the instigation is actually what happens to cause the fight. That's the thing that's instigating, like the bad hit or something like that.
That's exactly what started the fight. Yes, it's not the guy dropping his gloves and going to punch the guy. It's what the guy did. I got beat up at the start of my career, and I learned lessons what not to do. There was a time I was going in on the forecheck, and I did give a guy a little whammy on the back of the pants, and he went feet first into the end boards. And I had the biggest monster ever come off the bench, skate right at me. And I was like, oh dear, I'm never doing that again. Right. And then you learn.
It teaches you something about what's acceptable and what isn't.
Right. And then I never did that to a guy again. So I did learn my lesson. And I think it's important to learn their lessons in hockey. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my stance on fighting is also, there's there's times like the last time I ever fought in hockey was my second last game ever. This noble punk from Coventry
Oh
comes,
yes.
yeah, he's a donkey. Like Carl Hudson's skating up ahead of me on the power play, and he's coming across the blue line on the outside. The D-man literally dives on his hands and knees and takes Carl's knees out. And it was embarrassing that that guy's trying to hurt people for no reason at all, just because we're playing hockey against each other. I think he's a loser and he's never coming to my shed. But Carl goes flying and spinning in the air, and I don't know if his legs are broken or what happened, but I'm right behind him, and I'm the little scorer fat guy, right? And that I went and I fought him and I did the best I could. But I also think that if I slow up and I wait for someone else to go do it, that's not being a team. I probably should have had Lee Salters or Josh Batch fight him instead of myself, but I was there and we're a team and I'm going to do this for you because that's unacceptable. And this guy needs to know that, right? And I think that's a big part of winning too. When I always thought this, that if I was willing to fight as the small score guy, that it could help bring a team together, because then they're like, well, shit, if Wally's going to do it, then I better do it too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that team mentality. And I think a lot of players are worried about doing it now because they don't want to hurt the team with an instigator.
Yeah, and that penalty is what caught. Yeah, but to me, I think hockey is you kill the penalties when it's horse manure. You know, when you're doing it for the team, even if they score for the betterment of the team for your season, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think it brings people together.
Everyone loves that guy as well. Everyone loves a guy who will stand up for his teammates and show people what's acceptable and what isn't.
Right. And it for me also was having big guys on my team that were willing to do it. And I knew they had my back if anything were to go on out there. You can play freer, you can play bigger, you can do different things on the ice and feel safer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you see the impact people have, like, much less fighting this year, but you still got Big Lou there, and he doesn't actually have to do much apart from just skate around to show
he
he's
just
there.
needs to be there. Yeah, no, but he does need to be there. I saw he got scratched a couple times, and that made me scratch my head. So I don't know if
that made me scratch my head as well.
I don't know what I should say, but I've skated with him. If he's not hurt, he'd be in my lineup, but I shouldn't say anything else.
Yeah.
I like Brody DuPont too, but I'd have him in my lineup. That's all. Because he does change things. Having him on the ice changes things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, Riley Brandt in his own way as well, different way, but massive change for the game, and you see someone like that with that much passion and determination to
it brings teams together when guys do that, right? And when you take that inch from the other team and everybody on your team knows you took that inch, it's like when that Fournier came over for a bit and was like crossing the line and warm-ups and stuff, right? Like he was showing the other team, we're taking the inch on you.
Yeah. And there's not a fan that didn't love to watch that.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. It gets people going, but it's interesting when, you look at stuff on your phone and you see fights around hockey that still do happen. It is the most engaged fans get in North America or in any arena in the world. As soon as guys drop their gloves, every single person is going wild, that they love it. So I don't know where these people think that people don't like it.
I know. I think like it was like 2010, 2011 when we had those sort of 3 enforcer deaths in a row that suddenly the league started panicking and thinking that it was fighting that was a problem. When it wasn't. And so they kind of threw fighting under the bus because they're like, oh, the game can carry on without fighting, but it can't carry on without hits. So they kind of blamed fighting for it when actually I maintain the fighting wasn't the biggest problem.
I would agree with that. And, every, I guess, death is different, but I do know it's not just the fighters that have a hard time getting out of hockey, but the fighters were usually the biggest team guys, the biggest guys that loved hockey the most, were willing to do the most to be in the sport. And when they were out of the sport, I bet you they had like the hardest time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a change, isn't it? You spend your whole life working towards, being somewhere and getting somewhere. And then you're used to that kind of living and dying for your team. You retire and then suddenly
You don't.
You know, it has a massive impact on your mental health.
Oh yeah, and you don't have your team around anymore. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's a big change.
it is. And then you don't like for them. They don't have guys to protect, right? Like they're
No, no.
and they
Yeah,
don't
and they,
get
you
the
know,
rush of the crowd all going crazy when they get in a fight and all that.
yeah, it's a massive change for athletes of any sport really when they sort of retire because the whole sort of culture changes. But I think, you know, players that have really either put their body on the line or have kind of been involved in sort of fighting big team guys really struggle generally.
Yes, yeah, because
So
they're
I'm
the
hoping to
best
be able to teach
teammates
them.
too. Usually, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
It's always interesting the fighters you meet around hockey because they're pretty much usually the nicest dudes around, you know? And then there's
yeah,
the odd one that's actually just really likes fighting.
yeah, yeah. There's always a couple of those around, but the majority of them, you know, like you say, they're the big team guys.
They are,
They kind of
yeah.
know their role.
They
Yeah,
bring people together too, right?
yeah.
I think fighting brings teams together, kind of like drinking beers together. They're both important to me. So that's what I think. So here's my breaking question from every time. Where and what are you doing now?
Oh, right this minute I'm sitting in my office at home, but
Mhm. In Cardiff,
generally
Wales.
in Cardiff, Wales. Yeah, generally I'm also teaching criminology um, to a load of students. So I've got a whole module this year that I've designed and taught, which is on sports criminology,
You
which
always
kind
get
of
sports
covers.
involved, eh?
I do, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
good for you.
Well, the trick is when you're teaching students to design modules that you want to teach, so that
Yeah.
then you don't have to teach all the general ones. So I teach one on homicide, and then my other one I teach on sport criminology, which kind of covers everything, like a bit of violence, a bit of my own work, but also other stuff like doping and corruption and uh, fans, stuff like
Things
that. So
things you're into.
yeah, totally. And it basically means that it's fun to do what I do.
And fun is fun. And then you get paid to
Fun
have
is
fun.
fun,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Getting paid to have fun is the dream, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm still dreaming, but I'm going to keep doing this whether I get paid or not.
I know. I mean, I don't get paid for most of the stuff I do. Like I didn't get paid for Ice Guardians. I don't get paid
That
when I
was
publish.
one of my cutting edge questions.
Yeah.
I thought, what a business model when I'm thinking about this movie and how good it was and how popular it was. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I bet you they didn't pay these guys anything to do this.
No, no, no. You do things like that for the love of it. You
I
know. So
understand.
I mean, I got a free trip to Vancouver and then the second one to Toronto for the premiere. So you know that's good.
Oh,
That makes
yeah,
me happy.
absolutely. And you have that life memory, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'll never forget it. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
So poster picks, let's get into that, right? How many students do you have actually? University, how many people are you teaching?
I'm teaching 300 320 roughly this year.
Okay. And when they have to
A
write
big,
papers, they have to write like what someone wrote and then like Brent Walton et al, right? All that
yes,
crap. I hated that stuff.
absolutely.
I hated
Yeah,
that stuff.
they all hate
You
it.
must live in that world, eh?
No, I hate it because I'm not disciplined enough to do it properly when I'm writing. I write my ideas down and then I have to go back and put in all the references later. I'd hate myself for it.
The references, I got Piglet to teach me. He got me some software that would like write it all out for me. The silly
Yeah,
crap at the end.
yeah. No, it's great. It's a good person to have on your side for that.
Yeah. Technology can help with writing papers and referencing people, right? I do know
Absolutely.
that. Okay. Poster picks. Stanley Cup you were with. So you were in Toronto
I
at the
was in
Hall of
Toronto.
when did you come to the Hall of Fame? That's right by my neck of the woods.
Ah, yes, I did. I that was one of my great hockey friends, her birthday, and five of us went out to stay in what was
Cool.
Corky's mum's flat, I
Oh
think, which
yeah.
was, yeah, just off Dundas. So we stayed there for a week and did everything. But my master's dissertations and PhD dissertation are in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
You have wrote a lot of words in your life, eh?
Too many. Some of them are the same, like and
So your papers are in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
they are, yes. And so I've been Well, I went there as a kind of fan, but knew about it. But then when I went back for the premiere of Ice Guardians, I went up to their archive, which is just out near the airport, where their training rink is, and got to meet their guys and had a little private tour of the archive and saw my stuff there and all the other cool stuff they've got there. So that was awesome.
That is awesome. Well,
And then they very
congratulations.
kindly donated. Thank you. They very kindly donated a pair of the gloves that they use, because I met Phil Pritchard, who's one of the keepers of the cup, and he gave me a pair of his gloves that he uses to hold the cup and a picture of him with the cup. So I had those framed, and then they were raffled off for Scott Matzker's game that was a month later.
Oh,
So
that's
they raised
awesome.
money for that.
That's awesome. And speaking of that game, I am having a raffle right now at aleshockeytales.com, folks. I am raffling off a Kenton Smith jersey from the Matska night. And the money is going to Rich Bateman from Sheffield that had a massive stroke for his road to recovery, as well as ALS, right? So in honor of Scott. So yeah.
Amazing. It's so nice to see how much his legacy is kind of carrying on, and how people are still so dedicated in raising funds for it and helping. Because
Well,
he made a
and
massive difference.
I never met him, but like talking around in your shed, you figure out who are shed guys very quickly. And he was a shed guy, and sounds like all his teammates loved him, and played in a lot of the same leagues as me. We just missed each other. Yeah. But he's a devil, and it's the Maloney's that donated the jersey for me to do something good with. And I thought, well, heck, if I can help Rich Bateman, who I met his son, and he's a dad and came to the shed, and also ALS too, then that's winning, right?
Amazing. Buy your tickets, people.
Yeah. Running amok is fun, right? Winning is fun, and fun is fun. Brent Walton, 2023 et al. Right? Okay. So the Hall of Fame's pretty cool. Did you get in and like play goalie and stuff too, and like take the shots?
Oh yeah. Those pictures didn't make it to the poster.
No, they didn't get on the poster.
Yeah.
Eh?
We had such a good laugh. Yeah, the five of us went, and yeah, it was awesome. It was a really quiet day, so we just ended up spending ages doing all the other stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's on a weekend, it can be busy in there, but if you can get there on a weekday, right, you can really have at it.
Well, they tried to film some Ice Guardians in there as well. A couple of the player interviews, but and I think Lou Gasdick's interview was filmed there, but it was such a nightmare with the trains running underneath. The sound was really bad, so they had to sort of cut loads of stuff they'd filmed.
All right. Some of the guys I knew from that movie, though, Zenon Konopka played with him in Syracuse. He's an animal, that fella.
Yeah.
An animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the premiere not really knowing much, and I didn't know what they decided to use. I hadn't seen it, obviously. I thought that the players might not like what I had to say. I didn't know. And I went to the premiere and was kind of ushered into this kind of red carpet and all these media repeater signs and stuff like that. And then went and sat down with all these big stars that I'd like seen for years. And I was properly kind of like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like really freaked me out, because I was the only woman interviewed. And so I was the only person there. And obviously I knew who they all were, and they didn't have a clue who I was, but I just sat there going, oh God, I'm really freaked out.
So you had never seen the movie, and you get to the premiere, and then you don't even know what it's going to look like or anything. And you guys are all just sitting there together.
Yeah. I was really freaked out, because I'd heard that Kelly Chase didn't really want any non-players involvement in it at all. He just wanted it to be about the players, which I totally get. But what he didn't know is my research is really player focused. It's not about like legislation. It's about actually what the player's telling us. Mm-hmm. So I was really freaked out to meet him, because I was like, he's going to hate me and he's going to tell me he hates me. But yeah, he was fine.
Yeah.
But I was really nervous about it.
That's the Konopka, though, when I was at Syracuse with him and a couple of our other fighters during warm-up would stand at the red line and openly discuss which guys they were going to fight on the other team while the other team's trying to warm up. Legit. They're trying to warm up while they got three monsters standing at the red line saying, I'm going to fight that guy. I'm going to fight that guy. Do you imagine trying to get ready for a game with that going on?
Gonna mess with your head.
It sure could when you're a little guy out there and you're like, oh my gosh.
You want to be on their team, not against them, don't you?
Yeah, and he also I watched that guy play regular season games with a broken wrist.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's an animal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Certain mindset, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, he would do anything to win hockey games, that guy. Anything. Another poster pick was with you in Westgarth, which I played against him that year. We said he was in Belfast. So
He was,
did
yeah.
you get to know him pretty good through the Ice Guardians then?
No, I didn't meet him till the premiere, actually. I mean, I'd heard of him, I'd watched him play a bit in Cardiff, but I hadn't met him until then. And he had his ring. He's wearing it in the photo that's up on his from LA Kings, his Stanley Cup ring.
Oh, did he
And
win
I
the
was
cup?
just like so in awe because it was just humongous, this
Yeah.
really heavy. And I was just like, oh, so I got to hold that and yeah, feel all that was cool. That was a good experience. Someone from the UK suddenly, getting to meet these guys and chat to them about their cups.
Yeah, I haven't had a Stanley Cup in the shed yet. I haven't seen a ring in person yet either, I don't think. So that would be neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an interesting character to play against that season. He didn't fight too
Mm,
much, but like our captain stepped up and fought him one night in the big blue tent, and that brings teams together, right? When Tyson Marsh is willing to fight him.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's a dominant figure, isn't he? And obviously he came with a big name and a big resume. So
Yeah,
to be able to kind of stand up and captain your team that way is pretty good going.
it sure is. I that's everybody loves Marshy, and for him to do that, and he hung right in there, right? Just like I did with Noble, hung right in there. And then another poster pick is you're with Chet guys, Batchy and Hoth, and it says behind you Sundance Film Festival.
It was rain dance, but there was a dance involved.
Okay.
It's that was the Ice Guardians UK premiere, which was
Hoth and Batchy were there.
yeah. So I asked Todd if I could have a couple of his guys for a Q&A. So they showed the film there, and then they were there. I know, a couple of refs and a few other people were there for that. So we did a little Q&A afterwards in
Oh,
London, and
I
Batchy
gotcha.
and Hoff were kind enough to give me a day and come out and do that, and they were great. And I think it was Hoff saying someone asked him about fighting because obviously it wasn't a hockey crowd really; it was a film festival crowd. Someone asked him about fighting, and he's like, "I'm not much of a fighter." But then, like the rest of that season, he
Okay,
must have had
but
about 20
yeah,
fights.
I know. I was gonna say I thought he'd be the first one. Like that guy was one guy that like he did everything to win, and he was as
Yeah,
competitive as anybody, and he knew how to take that inch from the other team. He was just such a gamer. He would score the big goals for us, or he'd set up the big goals for us, or he'd fight a guy. He played with so much passion. He was just a gamer, eh? And he
yeah,
just had a big night in Cardiff, eh? He just had
he did.
he had his night. I haven't even had him on yet to talk about it yet.
Oh yeah, you need to. Yeah, it was great. We kind of wanted him back on the ice, I think, for part of it.
Yeah.
But it was it
It's
was
weird when a
nice to
guy
see him
like
get
that
recognized.
retires, right? Because he could totally still do it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
could still play. I know some of the off ice team were like, "Can we get you some skates? Can you just go out there?"
Yeah. Yeah. For
But
sure.
yeah, it was good to see him be recognised.
No, it's awesome. Love it when shed guys get recognized. And tomorrow, Renee Schofs is getting his jersey retired in Germany, and I was invited, and I'm not going to be there. But man, I wish I was, and love seeing stuff like that happen when guys you played with get their jersey retired. That's neat stuff. And when they invite you back, it's really neat, and I really should be there. And I'm sorry, I'm not, right? But neat
But
stuff.
Hoff didn't paint himself red. He didn't have a goat on him.
I know. I don't know why. I thought he'd be into the Pepsis and rums, whatever, right? Thought he might have thought about it, right? Thought the bar was set, Hoth. Okay, next poster pick. You're gussied up. Is that at like a rugby match where you're wearing like a fancy hat?
Oh no, that's not my graduation. It's my student's graduation.
Oh, that's a
So
graduation outfit.
yeah,
I
when
didn't know.
you get different robes. Did you graduate from your MBA or
Yeah,
were you out?
I graduated from a bunch of places and I never went to one graduation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your MBA, you'd have like a black gown and a black square top hat.
So what's
Like,
interesting is Marshy asked me if I was going. I was like, man, I don't know. We got like practice or a game. I don't know. I was like, I don't really want to. And I'm like, they want us to pay like £100 for some outfit. I'm like, I don't want
Yeah.
to. And we didn't go. And then like a couple years later, I saw Steven Dixon and a couple other fellas that had graduated. And they had the pictures with all the stuff on. I was like, shoot, I should have done that. You know? Yeah.
Well, I get to dress up like that. By the time you get to PhD, you get brighter colours. I'm all like red and green and this kind of floppy hat. But so I get to dress up a couple of times a year for my students' graduation now. And it's kind of nice to remember because
Yeah.
normally when I'm teaching, I'm trainers and a hoodie and jeans. It's quite nice to kind of get dressed up and feel formal for a while, even if it looks like I'm
You like it, eh?
cosplaying
I
for
don't really like
tutors.
dressing up ever. I
It
don't. I'm
doesn't
over it.
help that it look like Henry VIII in that outfit. It's yeah, it's not a nice one.
Okay, so the other picture or poster pic, painting the ice with the Devils. Did you paint the ice like the logo?
I did. So this was Blue Tent, first year of Blue Tent when it had been sort of half in, half out. They wanted people to go and help. So I painted a bit of the tail and I painted the right horn
Well, that's cool,
of
eh?
the devil that year and a bit of the kind of Ford logo or something like that. They asked people to come down and give a hand, and I was like, "Yeah, that sounds fun."
I did a lot of painting at the big blue tent too.
You did.
Yeah. Well,
It's not there though, unfortunately. Now it hasn't
Dease
stayed.
did most of the painting, actually. I was the canvas. Best pregame speeches ever, though. I'm telling you, I don't think these
I'm
things
gutted it
happen
wasn't
to any.
recorded.
There are some videos, but people can't see these. They can't come out. No. So then I guess there's another pick where you're like on the ice with the Devils. It looks like after a game and you got like a job on the ice, you're doing something.
Oh yeah. So I guess I didn't discuss this. So when I first went to do my MSc, and I'd been out of education for a couple of years, I started writing for the club, and then I started working on them for match night. So I had to escort that picture. I think is Joe Calzaghe,
Okay.
who was a boxer, and he was doing the puck drop. So I had to escort him onto the ice, but yeah, he didn't have a clue. He's like, "When's puck off? What's going on?" And I hadn't watched game before, but
So,
yeah, I was kind of having to tell him where to go, and I looked bossy in it. But
people that have never seen hockey before are so funny to bring to a game.
yeah,
I brought a couple of my classmates doing my MBA, Shed Guy Yashis. I don't know if you've listened to that one, but I brought him, he's from India, and I brought him and his buddies to a Devils game, and some of their questions were hilarious.
I know. I feel like I spend the whole time at those games explaining the rules, and I'm like, once you've got like offside and icing, you're kind of set. I don't want to have to like stop every time there's a break in play to explain it.
Well, how fast everything was happening at the big blue tent, there wasn't much time to explain what was going on, right? Do you not find it when you're talking about the injuries and stuff, whatever? Like the big blue tent, I thought was as hockey got. It was all happening so fast. There was bumping and grinding. People were fighting. Fans were right on top of you. How do you feel with like the bigger ice surface and all that?
I still miss the tent. I hated the tent, but I still
I've
miss
watched
it.
a couple games now on the new building, and the actual hockey game, I don't find nearly as entertaining. There's like hardly any hits.
Yeah, small ice is great for that, isn't it? You've got
You get to muck it up.
kind of team.
You get to muck it up, and that's not running amok, right? So if on the over under of running amok, mucking it up is not the same thing.
I in the old tent. I mean, obviously, when I was watching games for doing my research and stuff, like to be right on the ice surface, right next to the ice surface, and feeling the kind of breeze of the cold ice as players skate around and stuff. There's nothing like that when you're sitting in an arena. But I'd rather a small arena like we have now than like a massive sort of 8,000 arena.
It's definitely better to have a full arena than a half full arena. There's
absolutely.
Yeah. But for me, watching a hockey game right at the glass, standing at the glass is the best.
Yeah, is the best one. Yeah.
Like when I watch minor hockey now, all the parents go up top to like the seats and I'll stand there and talk and sit or whatever. And I never go talk to them. I always go down to the glass and stand by myself and like just watch the game,
Yeah, yeah.
way better.
I am. I go to my son's hockey games a lot as well, and he's a junior devil,
Is
and
he really?
I'm always yeah. So I normally end up doing the clock or the penalty box or something. So I'm
Was
kind
he
of down
just
an
in
ice level, which is good.
Belfast?
He was, yeah. And this is the Belfast cold that they've come back and given me.
They were just there, and I had some moving parts there, so I was trying to help them out. So what happened was, shed guy Neil Parker reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you help me out? I'm in Belfast. They're playing Manchester." And he was asking if I could like get them to meet Belfast. I'm like, I know Manchester. I'm like, I know those guys. I can get you in there. And I made a few texts.
Yeah.
Ginner said he was cool with the kids going down to meet the players after the game. And I said, well, I hear Greggy, the bus driver, is going to be there. So I'm like, I'll get him to chaperone them and he'll tell them that you're good with it. And I had all this stuff set up, and I had Greggy meeting the kids to go down to meet the storm. And then Greggy's phone died during the game, and he couldn't get a hold of anybody, and they never got to go down and meet them. Be
It was
better,
the result,
Greggy.
I think. So they
I know you
they
have a great
kind of
attitude, Greggy,
decided
but be better.
be better. They I think they kind of decided that it's probably best not to go. The way
Yeah,
the
no,
game
and
had gone,
that's
how it had, they were like, "Oh, we'll leave
yeah,
them alone."
I think it wasn't the time, but it
Yeah,
was a tough game, but those happen, right? Sometimes you just gotta
they do.
let one go.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But I wonder they might even play tonight. There's not many chocolate storms left in the season. I think they
There
only
are
got
not. Is there only one? I think. Oh,
what
playoff as well. So
and
yeah,
the
at
playoffs,
least
right?
two home games for them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm having on my under 9 gals on Monday. I'm having the squad on.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Oh, that's gonna be great fun. Are you having all of them on?
Yeah, well, there's one or two that might be a little bit too shy, and I didn't want to pressure anybody. But there are 10 confirmed out of 12, I think. So should be a time. And I can't wait, but I just remember like last year how important Buenos for the boys were. And I actually have Miley Drazy, the captain of the Cardiff Junior Devils, coming on again to meet my gals. She's gonna stay up late on a school night to meet my
Nice.
gals. And I'm just thinking out loud that she wanted whirls for the girls, right? And if Miley comes on and I get my girls on and we talk about having whirls for the girls when Cardiff books their spot to Nottingham, and in Cardiff, Wales, say like next weekend in the playoffs when they book it, we could chuck a whole bunch of whirls for the girls on the ice, right?
Nice.
And then it's
Good
like
idea.
it'd be something those girls would never forget, right? That talking in our shed
Absolutely.
could get them whirls for the girls in Cardiff, Wales, and for Miley for being such a nice
Yeah.
person, right?
Yeah, they need to get it done. They'll
Right?
get all the junior devils on it as well.
Yeah. Whirls for the girls, folks. We should get the junior devils on, eh? That'd be fun.
Oh, they'd be interesting. There'd be a lot of them like to talk.
Yeah. Okay. I love the minor hockey and coaching kids. It sure is fun. And Shed Gal Breyer and her parents just got me this nice mug. They just gave it to me last weekend, and it's got the Concord Canucks logo on it. It says Coach Wally. And so yeah, I'm really getting into this
Oh,
whole
nice.
I'm really getting into this whole coaching thing. you know?
Good. That's
Mhm.
nice. It's always nice to have something to focus on and
Entertain
distract
yourself,
from
right?
working life, isn't it?
It is. Well,
Yeah.
something to look forward to. And like, I really look forward to the practices, the games, and now it's all over with the gals. It's sad. So anyhow,
There's another season around the corner.
next poster pick. You're wearing a hat that says "I love Canada."
Yeah, that was we bought those for our trip when the five of us went. And a couple of us had these trucker hats with I Heart Canada.
Right.
And one of the girls who I went with, we both had these hats, and we arrived a day before the others, and we decided to wear them on an open top bus tour. And she was a photographer for the Devils at the time, and she was always going around saying to people about her camera and saying, "I'm from the UK and I've got a fisheye lens," and taking
Would
photos
this
of
be
people.
Helen?
No, Jess.
Mm.
Yeah, so by the time you were with the club, I think she'd stopped doing it.
Okay. Those
But yeah.
photographers that are around the hockey around the EIHL, like when I go through my phone and I see all the great photos there are of us playing hockey, and it's like, this is because of those photographers, and the memories
Oh
they
yeah,
give us are incredible, you know?
yeah, absolutely. And they work, they work so hard, and there's always, they're not getting rich from it. So it's nice that they're kind of wanting to hone their craft a bit. It's a tough sport to photograph.
Well, they do a very good job. Like
They do.
it is awesome. The ones like get sent nowadays, it's the world isn't so big in the shed, and like I get sent pictures I've never seen before, and like it's really neat that those are out there, and they do a great
Yeah.
job. Okay, what's poster pick with three dudes with their one guy's got his fist up and the other guy's wearing a shirt that says "Violent Gentleman"? Who are those guys?
Oh yeah. So they are the director, producer, and assistant producer of Ice Guardians.
Oh,
So
okay.
that picture was taken at the filming of it when I was there. Um, and it was the one with the Ice Guardians no, the one with the Violent Gentleman t-shirt on was the one that I thought might be a serial killer and kill me when I went there for the premiere. But they were lovely guys, and I've kept in touch with a couple of them. Really nice guys. So that was filming, and the filming happened in one of the sponsors' houses in North Vancouver, up near the Capilano Suspension Bridge, which was just beautiful. It was, oh, if I could live anywhere, that's just like amazing.
Well, they did a great job making that movie, but I guess like it would have taken money to do that, right?
Do you know what, they're amazing? Like how hard that they work and for how long. I was going to be writing a book with the director, a sort of Nice Guardians book, but he got busy with another film, and he's a proper artist, so he'll get really deep involved.
Get
And then
right
I
into
changed my
one.
job and needed to focus, so it never happened. But they're all very talented guys.
Yeah, well, they must be because that was just a heck of a movie, and I thought they did a great job. And it's interesting listening to like the actual enforcers out there in hockey, right? And I
Mm.
mean, I think it's like bringing people to the shed, right? Everybody's got different ideas and opinions and the reasons of why they do what they do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a kind of pleasure to be able to talk to people for a decent length of time as well, and really kind of get an understanding of who they are,
It's
and to
just like
chat
the
as well.
shed.
That's like the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's exactly like the shed, and shed's a little bit like what I do, but without a camera and without having to
But you
worry
got to
about
write
whether I'm saying
words
everything
out. I
right.
just got to jot down some notes, right? This is the only time I like writing is when I write notes for this, right?
Yeah, you referencing it properly as well.
No. But who knows, right? Maybe someday all these notepads will be in the Hall of Fame, right?
You never know.
You just got to keep trying hard, right?
I got a contact for you if you want it.
But seriously, I got like I don't know how many of these I got now, like wow, six maybe, a full of the each person's notes. I think it's pretty neat,
Yeah, busy research team you got.
It is a busy research team. They work hard. It's not work when you like it, right? Can you
Exactly.
skate?
Oh God, no. No,
Have
I
you ever
can't even
tried?
balance on when I'm wearing
They
trainers.
have penguins in Wales. You could give it a shot.
No, I did my ankling when I was 19. So I used to do figure skating like as a
So you could
teenager.
skate
I
when
learned.
you're, yes, then you could
Yeah,
skate.
but I don't. And when I've had to go out on the ice when I was working for the club and doing match night stuff, I was always like, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna fall. Just
Mhm.
like panicking because I've got no balance at all. No, I don't wear heels and wheels or steels. That's my motto.
No heels, wheels, or steel, eh?
Yeah.
Uh yeah, no, that makes sense. I still put on the skates just to coach now, right? But now I'm coming over to like actually play hockey. May
Well,
27th, folks.
yeah, you need them for Batchy's game.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask Dease to sharpen my skates just for old time's sake, right? Because
Old time's sake. Did you know that Dease was training this week?
I when I had him on, he was getting ready to play roller hockey.
Yeah, he went down to the Cardiff Demons, which my husband and son play with, on Tuesday night, and he was chirping my son, and he was not impressed.
Weird Dease chirping, eh?
Yeah, he was telling him to eat more food and stuff, and laughing at the fact that he could skate faster than his dad.
Isn't it a small world though? We get talking around, and Dease was just with It's just all very
Yeah,
strange. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Dease is you better watch it. Dease is trying to get back into condition to show you up on the 27th.
I can be as fat as I want. These will never show me up. It's not gonna happen. Yeah, no, not a chance. But I'm worried about the actual professionals still that are in shape. I have to play hockey against guys that still play hockey. That's what I'm nervous about.
Yeah.
Not Dease training with the demons.
What are you saying about the quality of the demons?
I actually have never seen them play. I'm talking about Dease. I'm not worried, Dease.
Yeah.
Train as much as you want. What is the demons then?
It's just a rec team. They started 16 years ago, I think, in
That's cool.
blue tent. And they're all getting on a bit now. But yeah, my husband plays and is assistant coach, I think, or something.
That's
and then
cool.
he trains the juniors. So my son's now old enough that he can kind of get on the ice with the demons.
He's one of the coaches of the Cardiff Junior Devils.
Yes, with Neil, your mate, Neely, as I call him, because he's Neil with an E.
Oh, so then you knew I was setting all this stuff up that day then. Did you know?
No, I didn't know it was you. Like Neil, you know what Neil's like. He's got his contacts everywhere. And like, you never know what they are.
Yeah, no, it was me.
Yeah. So no, I wasn't at the game.
So then the picture he sent of them all in Belfast on the bench. So they sent me a picture of the whole team on the Belfast bench. So your husband would have been in that photo, and your son.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I've not looked at them all yet, but I remember seeing that one. Yeah.
Small world.
They were all there.
Small world. Jeepers. Okay. What else do I got though? Who are the most interesting brains you've dove into? Can you at least give me that?
Oh,
so folks, just so you know, some of the people she interviews, it has to stay anonymous, right? But
Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, the good thing is I did a load of interviews for the program before I started doing my research, so I can talk about those guys as much as I like because they were stuff that was published. I don't obviously mention people who I research, and I've researched some really, really cool people, both in the UK and over in North America as well. But
you know what? So have I in the shed.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Big shed guys.
Yeah.
I always liked the really in-depth. I used to do those for the program right at the beginning, like some really in-depth interviews with players, kind of life history and moving on. So I always liked interviewing the enforcers most.
Yeah.
So the kind of Doug McIvers, Brad Voths, people like that.
You got Brad Voth into your shed, eh? I can't get him into my shed.
No, you can get him into your shed. You need to just ask him nicely.
Well, he got a little nervous. Yeah, no, shed guys know shed guys. Him and Daryl Andrews are good buddies. Guy won with in Denmark. Yeah. But yeah, I got his number. I got close, but I don't think he wanted it. I'll persuade him in though.
Yeah.
Get him.
Yeah, one day.
One day. Mm-hmm. So you like the enforcers though, eh? I always liked the enforcers.
Yeah, I like people that chat, to be honest. I'm happy interviewing everybody. I think the hardest ones are always the youngest kids on the team who don't know what to say yet and are a bit freaked out.
Yep.
So yeah, those are one. But I anyone who'll chat and have a good conversation. I was really proud of Doug McIvers' interview because it was just the year he was getting married. And his fiance at the time was from Louisiana, where don't know a lot about hockey. So he arranged for loads of copies of that interview, the program, to be sent to his future wife's family, so they'd have an understanding of what he was doing. That was a cool one.
That is cool.
Because it meant he could introduce himself to them in his own words, but like through that.
Yeah, that's actually kind of why I love doing this so much is the families get to listen to it and the parents get to listen to their kids, their stories and their journeys. It's like sometimes when I go over to Germany and I'm doing all this stuff, right? And this before social media, like my parents probably didn't know all the stuff that was going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun making memories for
there's
people.
There's a joy of having things are forgotten though as well, isn't there? I'm glad I grew up when I did.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think hockey was hockey before all the phones, changes the game.
Changes it a lot.
Changes people just getting to live, right? It's like when I came into pro, I mean, like I think, well, let's see here. Like you could go out for a couple beers, say on a Wednesday when you play on a Friday. You could go have 2 beers with the guys, sit down, have a meal. And nowadays, like, people would probably take a picture of you drinking on a Wednesday, right? And be like, look at this. These guys don't care.
Yeah. Whereas before that, Dease was screwing in can holders into the tent, the showers in the tent.
He was, yeah. And that was hockey. Or the George brothers would walk in with 2 trayfuls of beer and say, here, fellas, here you go. Good game. That was when hockey was hockey, And it's weird though, right? And I totally agree with your opinion that it went totally the other way with the fighting and the violence. I think you're totally spot on. Around 2010, when there were stage stuff, the enforcers were so gigantic and so big. But it's like, if you could get all these skilled hockey players playing hockey, but then get them more into it and more passionate and hitting more and fighting more and just into it more, I think it would be a better. It was 2014-15, and the EIHL was, I thought, hockey at its finest and purest form.
Yeah, I miss the tent. I miss those times as well. Different sport.
It is. Yeah, it's changed a lot. Even watching the NHL, I find very interesting. I tell you. I watched it play the other game. It was a guy on, who does he play for? He's number 91. I think it's Edmonton. I don't know what team he plays for, but I was watching this highlight of them losing in overtime, and he lost his guy. And then as he's already lost his guy, he skated behind the net, like, well, the guy put in the overtime winning goal. He went behind his net. And I was thinking, if anybody ever did that anywhere in hockey, they would not play again in the NHL. But like, the next game, that guy'd be on the first power play, and he'd be on the first, he'd still play just as much. It's so crazy that these guys now can turn it over at the blue line all the time, and the other team's going the other way and scoring nice goals, and people don't get benched like they used to.
Yeah.
Weird.
Different game. And I think, they're always fearful now, I think. And I think that comes from above, really, not knowing how things are going to be called, what suspensions, what lengthy penalties. They have to be less in their head about it and more tactical.
Yeah. And I heard that the Quebec Junior League over here now is going to be a league that, like, there's no fighting at all. Or I don't know how that happens. Like, how long you get suspended if you fight. Like, sometimes it can just happen out there. It's boys being boys.
Yeah. I don't know what the proposed punishment is. I imagine 3 games or something.
Right. And then if you do it again, then it's even more. And then people just won't do it. Right.
Yeah. But it's not fighting that's a problem.
Right. But like, it was weird. It's weird for me to think about, because when I played college hockey and you weren't allowed to fight, there was a lot of stick work and a lot of stuff that, a lot of huge body checks, because you wouldn't get beat up by the guy on the other team. Yeah.
And no repercussions for that. So it goes unchecked.
Right. Yeah. Weird to think having an honest man-on-man fight would get you suspended for 3 games, when, say, hitting a guy in the head and concussing him would get you like 1. It's kind of weird, right, to think about out loud,
if they even call it at all, because they get missed a lot.
Right. But dropping your gloves and having a man-on-man fight to bring a team together and bring fans on their feet and all that, and both guys willing to do it together, instead of, when the guy gets hit in the head with a shoulder, he didn't drop his gloves and say, I'm willing to do this with you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's much less kind of honesty in it now. Even with, a 4-man system, which is meant to kind of catch some of the things that had to be dealt with differently before, there's still so many things that get missed.
Well, they're always, but that's the hockey part of it. I think hockey is getting away with some stuff too, right? Like, when you can whack a guy in the back of the legs and then skate away and giggle, that's hockey. Right?
Totally.
I think there's just
people like to watch, if they're kind of,
there's not enough hockey in hockey.
I like watching what goes on off the puck half the time when I'm there. Just like seeing those little
That's interesting you said that, because my wife asked me, because she says, why during games are you always watching the people away from the puck? And I'm like, well, that's when you hockey, right? That's when you do. That's like, it's like you're interested because you can tell how into it all anybody is away from the puck, right?
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
have the
absolutely.
puck, everybody's into it. It's when you don't have the puck, you figure out who's into it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you can learn a lot.
You can. Yeah. Not just watching the person with the puck, right? With all the
Yeah.
talents. Mm-hmm. You got any questions for me today? Because are you still going to interview me for your research?
I
Or,
am,
or did
hopefully.
you get what you need today?
No, no, if you'd be happy to, that would be awesome, because I think it'll be beneficial to see, to chat deeply. But obviously, I won't make you do it on camera
Yeah, you got to
and
keep it
record them.
anonymous. I don't want anybody knowing, right?
So maybe
But
I won't interview you. How will we know?
yeah, that's right. Um, well, let's see. Do you got any questions for me while I look at the rest of my notes?
Oh, who would be your top line of people you've played with? If
Oh,
you could make like a Wally line for
how about
anything.
power play or like, you mean like, so if I like you're talking 5 players, 2 defense, and a line of forwards?
Yeah. Oh, give yourself a netminder as well. Treat yourself.
Oh dear, I'm gonna upset people then. Well, I'd say Joey Martin, but I can't, because Justin Kelly was the best centerman I played with. Joey Martin's he's been incredible in Cardiff, and he's my goat, and that's why I spray painted myself as him. But like the year
It
my
was
best
uncanny. You looked
I
exactly
never
like him.
got to play with him, so he ate my centerman. I never played with him. Lordo took him. Sorry, buddy. I can't pick you because you weren't my line mate. Lordo kept him all for himself. But Justin Kelly would be the centerman. We played together, beating Heim, and won the championship. And yeah, that was the best power play I ever played on too. So yeah, Justin would be the centerman. I've never played with this guy, but I had to the shed a lot, and he's won a couple times since his inaugural shed debut. I think my goalie, even though I've never shot a puck on him, would be Matt Carruth. So
Nice. Safe pair of hands.
Andrew Hotham is going to be on defense.
Alone, or does he get someone with him? He
Well,
could just do it alone,
he could. Gleason Fournier is really good, but I never got to play with him. He came in after I already hurt my knee, so that doesn't count. Of people I've played with, Doug Andrus was right up there. He was the captain of Beatingheim with me, and we played together, I think, 3 years there. And he was also on that power play with Justin. So if I had Dougie and Hoth on the point on a power play with me and Justin, and then I just need, well, I never got to play with Matthew Waugh, but he'd probably be standing in front of the net on this power play.
Yeah.
Yeah, the left winger. The left winger?
Yeah.
Huh. Peter Abstrater from Landshut, Germany. Shed guy. Episode 37, I think. He won the championship in all 3 leagues. He was one of my favorite line mates I ever had. He was a goal scorer. He would be around the net, and he's an absolute dandy. That would be my lineup. Good question.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
that'd be
question.
good. You could run him up.
I couldn't imagine how good that line would be on the ice.
Now
Seriously.
or in their prime?
Not now. Well, I think we'd all be able to do fine now. We'd be fine.
You didn't mention Dease. He's going to be offended now.
Well, I told you I'm not worried about his hockey playing ability. I did see him change steel. Gratz posted this thing of a TikTok of Dease changing steel on a guy's skates on the bench.
Yeah.
And he changed guy's steel within like 7 seconds during a game.
No way.
Yeah, and then the guy, like, if he would have lost an edge or whatever had happened, this guy he was ready to rock within, I think it was 7 to 10 seconds. And they're like, look at our Dease with a heart, like, look at him go. And like, man, he's running a muck as an equipment manager.
He is. Yeah, he's off to China next week.
I know. That's cool. And then he's off to the shed after that. He's coming here.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's coming to visit you, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't know how that's gonna like how do I go to the shed when he's here, right? It's like it's gonna be weird. I'm gonna have to have like a co-anchor.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be messy.
It's gonna be something. Well, yeah. I think the wife's a little nervous, I think, about this trip.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's yeah, yeah, I know. Um so I guess I was curious what your stance was going to be on fighting and violence after all your research, and it's interesting to me that I think we're on the exact same page.
That's nice to hear. Yeah, I like talking to people at whatever page they're on,
Whatever
different views,
stance they're in.
whatever stance they're in, like whether it's a power stance or or whatever. I get a lot of flack from it at conferences and things like that when I go to academic conferences and talk about it. Um, a lot
That
of a lot of people question it, but that's okay. You know, let's have a chat about it.
But
Let's talk about
academics
it.
don't get shed, guys. They don't understand. You're going to
No,
ask a guy that doesn't like getting punched in the face and mucking it up. He's going to say you should never do that in hockey. It's so disturbing. But guess what? You're not playing. Go sit in the stands and watch and enjoy it. Stand up when we fight, you know?
yeah. I mean, you've got to look at the numbers of, when the NHLPA does a little survey, players still want it. Players still see the value of it. It's just education. It's just the information that comes out saying that it's fighting that's a problem, and there are bigger problems than that.
Yeah, and it's competing. It's passion.
Yeah,
it happens when people play with passion and play, and you're a team. It's like you put grown men or women in jerseys, and you go out and play a sport. People are gonna get pissed off at each other because people are competitive. At least they should be if you want to win.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
why I'm now banned from doing the clock or the sin bin at junior games, because I get a bit too.
Were you cheating? Were you like, if you're down at the late game, you just might forget to hit start on the clock or what?
Never. I did get accused of that once, by a parent from Solon who shouted at me and made me cry. But no, it's more that if anybody touches my kid, I get, oh man, I want to get on the ice that we talk about.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a mama bear. I can't help it.
I'm the opposite of that. When my kid gets knocked over, I'm like, well, buddy, be better, get up. But it's interesting because my kid will get roughed up a bit, I think this is a dynamic, and I had this written down, is like, so for myself in my career, my rookie year in Dayton, there's a lot of fighting in 2006-07, like a lot in the East Coast. I think I fought about 5 times that year, and I'm not even good at it, but it was just part of the game and you did it. And, but I had Hendo and I had Lane Manson, who was in the Goon movie, which is cool. But anyways, I had these guys that would protect me, and I knew that that time the big guy came off the bench to kill me, Matt Hernizen took a third man into the fight to save my life. He got suspended for doing that because I should have got beat up because I acted like a punk. Right. But that's a teammate helping me out. And you need those guys in your life. But watching my son, when I was coaching him last year, he's scoring a bunch of goals. So people tend to notice or try to get in his way. So when things happen to him, I would watch Evan, Shed Guy, episode 115, folks. Evan would literally skate immediately over. And this was without me telling him to do anything, without me coaching him to do anything. This was natural instinct. He would go over and crush the kid for whatever he did. And he would be like, you don't do that to Colby. And I was like, that's hockey. That's Hendo and me in Daytona Beach and Cardiff,
Yeah. Good team guys.
Well, it's a dynamic though, and it's natural instinct. It's like you don't get to do that because we're a team and we're brothers, and you need those guys to step up and be willing to do that. Because as soon as you start getting pushed around, then you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's allowing people knowing that they're allowed to do it as well. That's the big thing. I think that's why hockey's so confusing at the moment, because players don't know what they're allowed to do.
Right. One of my favorite moments, I would say, when we talk about this part of hockey was I was playing in the Big Blue Tent, and I'd be playing with like Matthew Myers, Batch, you'd be out there at Hendo, and then I actually like have a picture of me skating with the 4 guys behind me, and I couldn't find it today. It was pissing me
But was
off.
Myers standing up or was he down on the ice?
Well, he'd be standing in front of the goalie, or he'd kind of fall into the goalie, or fall into the fenceman and hook his guts. And yeah, no, I love playing with Myers. He'd always go to the net and muck it up, and in the neutral zone, he'd give me the puck and he'd go to the net, be exactly what I wanted. But I remember this guy in the back check. I'm skating up the ice. He literally slashed me. He was hooking me. He was all over me. And I'm like, this is horse manure. This guy should not be doing this to me. And I'm not going to do anything about it because I got to step on him. But I got ahead of him. Someone passed over. I tap it in. I score the goal. And then I curl into the corner. And the guy's like following me because we both curl towards the corner. And I just scored, and I put my arms up, and then I stopped, and I crushed the guy, hammered him right after scoring a goal. And you know what? Their team did nothing. The rest of our team came in and all hugged me, and I had my big boys all around me, and I showed that guy that he couldn't do shit. You know what I mean? And I bet you we won that game. But it's like when you take that inch on someone and they can't push back, it's like, haha, right?
Yeah.
And there needs to be more.
That's what I love. It's all that
hockey.
little, yeah, the playing around, the kind of people checking where the refs are and getting the stuff done.
Right?
The kind of, I don't know, that kind of
the hockey,
getting the spirit up of the game. Those people who kind of change the impetus of the game. That's what's fun.
It is that you're right.
Like, you can watch pretty hockey all the time, but it's not as fun as watching,
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's the hockey, and hockey is the stuff away from the play, and it's even like the stuff Dease would do, like that would be hockey, and like squirting a linesman in the back with water just and giggling, right? It's like, that's funny.
I remember him explaining to me all about how he'd get away with the butt ending and spearing and stuff like that. Just yeah, really like detail.
You do have to get creative. Yeah, you have to get creative how to get away with things, right? You learn as you go. Well, I guess so you're still into hockey a lot, though. Hockey is a big part of your life. You go to the Devils games, your kids play it, your husband's playing, and you're researching players.
Yeah, and that's why my daughter hated hockey for years. She was determined to not think it was good,
right?
Because we were all into it. But she's coming back now. She started watching a couple of streams online, and she's like, "Oh, I'm getting into it now."
Oh, streams online aren't even similar to going to a game, though.
Oh, I know, but it's just, yeah.
I have a heart. If I need a sleeping pill, I'll watch hockey nowadays on TV of guys I don't know. If I don't know the guys playing hockey,
it's totally different if you don't know the guys.
I'm out cold in 10 minutes. Yeah. You cannot entertain me the way people play hockey now if I don't know the people. Yeah. But if I watch the Devils play, if I got to watch the Manchester Storm play, I'd be right into it too, because I know all them now.
But not as much as the Devils, obviously, because
right. Because
back to basics.
Yeah. And they're gonna do whirls for the girls when they win the playoffs, right? After my gals come on Monday, right?
Totally. A lot of good girl players from Cardiff over the years.
Yeah, well, and Miley's playing for Team Great Britain, and she's going to come on and meet my gals, and she's the captain of the boys team, and I think people need role models, right? And
definitely,
I think it's going to be really neat that I've tried to build these girls into little shed gals all year, and now they're going to come to the shed and get to meet Miley. I think that's hockey.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And sorry to your son's team that it didn't all work out in Belfast, but we did our best, right?
They had a great time. They beat the Giants. And they were a year older as well, the Giants. They were the under-19s.
Is that right? And they beat them in Belfast.
Yeah, the Giants were pretty rough. It was 5-5 with 3 minutes to go, and then they ended up winning 8-5. But they were pretty rough. One of the kids, it's a shame because it's his last junior game, but he was hit by 2 players, broke his collarbone in the first shift.
Broke his collarbone this last weekend there in Belfast.
Yeah.
That's a tough way to end it.
Oh, I know. So that's his last junior game.
Oh.
And he's got all pins in his shoulder now. He had surgery this week.
Oh my gosh. That
Guy.
sounds like one of those injuries that you get to feel for a while. That's like
Oh yeah.
my knee. It's like you don't get to get away from it.
No, no, he's a tough guy. But yeah, I think the team are all going round to him on Saturday to watch the game.
I find it very interesting how many teams I root for now around the hockey world. And I was like out of it and didn't care about nothing. And I was just all sad and miserable for years. And now I like care about so many teams winning. And there's so much going on in hockey right now with playoffs and everything and so many leagues. And it's like, I can't keep up with any of this anymore. There's so many shed guys like doing well all over the place.
There's a lot
Now I'm
to do.
gonna care about your Cardiff Junior Devils too and the younger team, right? Like Miley's team there with Raheem, who
Yeah.
wears number 18 because of me, no big deal. But they got chocolate chucked on their ice after a game and it started a brawl. That's cool. And that was from talking in my shed. I
Oh,
started
that
a
was yeah.
Isn't
Yeah, I
that
heard it. I
cool?
heard tales about that game.
It's cool that I can start a fight from having chocolate thrown on the ice in Wales from my shed in Kincardine. I think that's awesome. We need more
Classic
violence in
fact.
hockey, folks. I'm starting kid brawls. And it happened organically because of passion for chocolate, right? The
I can
Devils
understand.
deserved the chocolate. The other team didn't. And you can't take our chocolate if we won, or else, right? And the Devils didn't give up an inch, right?
That's what you really need an enforcer for. It's the chocolate stage.
Well, you know what I hope if I had a wish list is that Manchester doesn't play Cardiff and then Manchester has a chocolate store one more time and then they go on to the finals and Cardiff also wins their series and there's Worlds for the girls and that it can all happen the same day and there's chocolate flying everywhere. I think that'd be living.
Living the dream.
It would be. Yeah.
What are you going to do though if Manchester get Cardiff in the final, the playoffs?
Just watch Shed Guys and root. It's a win-win then, right? You know
Good
what was
way of
cool
looking
for
at it.
me though is one of the guys I just had on who was battling to stay in the second league in Germany. So it's a best of 7. They win game 6 against Hellbron, who had asked me to kindly leave Germany. They my buddies there in Selb, Bryce Reddick and Richard Gelke and Harzy, they win. And they for them to think of FaceTiming me in the locker room after they won, like it makes my heart full because I was out of the game for a long time. And now for guys to think of anybody to FaceTime after winning and staying in the league that they FaceTimed me and we were all having a laugh and a beer, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
that's, that's down to what you do with this, isn't it? It's down to the work you put into the shed. Keeping your spirits up, keep chatting to people, keep remembering the good things. That's like it's important.
It really is. And you get to see all your friends that you haven't seen and like you become brothers and then you just don't see each other anymore. And you start
Mhm.
you for like you said, the transition part for hockey players, it can be very, very challenging. And
Yeah,
I've found a way to, I guess, have it all. I get to have all my hockey buddies and be Wally and be the hockey guy. And then that gives me the energy to do all the other shit I got to do.
yeah. But it's real as well. The guys know that they can talk to you and that it's real and that you're there. And I think that's really important because so many players, struggle to know who to reach out to after playing.
I've had people reach out to me about struggling and
Mm.
it's tough to hear. And then I've also had like the wives of players like reach out and be like, can you call him? Can you whatever, right? And it's tough when you hear guys that struggle after, but I mean, it's such a wild ride, hockey, and it is who you are, and you're part of a team. And like you block shots for each other, you fight for each other, you do anything for each other on and off the ice. And then all of a sudden, it's just over, and you're like living a totally different life, and you don't have those people around. And it's like
Mm.
people you've won with and like people you haven't won with, but like that you just don't see them anymore. Don't even talk to each other. You don't even know what each other are doing. It's just a bizarre world, hockey.
It is. And I think, that's the best thing that Ice Guardians has got me and sort of other stuff I do, in that people know that they can talk to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I do get their wives reaching out or, their families or the players saying, look, I'm having a hard time at the moment, what do I do? And then that's great, because you'd rather a million people reaching out and wanting a bit of help than somebody not reaching out.
And it's hard for guys to realize that they should reach out, or that they need to,
Yeah,
or that they want to. Like, so many dudes just keep going through the hard time, right?
yeah,
I mean, I don't
yeah,
think when I was doing it, I don't think I was having a hard time, but like, I don't really feel like I reached out to anybody. But like, the things that would make my day were a FaceTime from Hendo, or like when I go through my pictures and when I first moved back, there's like just normal life. And then all of a sudden there's a picture from Dease and the guys in Cardiff. And like, Dease was one of those guys though, that like
oh yeah,
when I left, he kept me in the game by sending me funny stuff, you know? That's the stuff that would put a smile on your face, right? Is just those guys that do reach out
yeah,
without reaching out,
absolutely.
staying in
Yeah,
contact.
yeah, definitely. And just, it just reminds people that the good times are great, and you can get back to them and remind them and relive them and all that stuff. Doesn't have to be over.
Right. It was like, it's kind of like coming to the shed. I'd almost kind of try to be like, it was like Wally night when Cardiff brought me back, and what it did for me to remember who I was, and I guess maybe some things I accomplished, but like instead of being business Brent, I could be Wally, and like to remember being that person. And it's like, I had a guy on a week or two ago, and he just wrote to me and said, "Thank you for bringing me back to the best times in my life. That's the best thing I've done in so long." And I'm like, doesn't
So
even mean
nice.
that much. Thanks. You know? Yeah.
Oh, you get tripped up about things like that, don't you?
No,
Real
not at all.
miss.
Never have. Never once.
Never, not
No,
once.
no, no. Don't even like it when people are happy.
Hate them.
Yeah. But no, it's been great getting to know you. And I
Yeah,
think it's awesome that you found like at your place in hockey, and you get to live your passion, and you get paid to watch hockey. That's living.
yeah. I'd like to have a team with it though. The only bad thing about it is it's quite isolating because you're the only one.
I know.
You're the only one
I
watching
do
it.
know. I
Like I
do know.
hear all, you guys talking about how great it is because you've got the team, and it's kind of just me doing my research and me doing my writing and me presenting stuff. But it's still fun.
I
I'm
do
not going to
I
complain
do know
watching
what
hockey.
I do know what you mean though, and it's very similar to like when the shed gets ranked like number one in a country somewhere, and it's like, I didn't do that by myself. It took everybody to win, and it took all the guys that came on. But it's like, I see that I won, and I'm like, huh. I'm like, well, I don't have a team here to celebrate with, so whatever,
Yeah,
cool, move on.
no one's throwing chocolate at you or giving you a hug.
No, it's like, I don't even have anybody to celebrate with. It's like, I should call the guys that like I had on to celebrate with them. It's like, we already talked. It's like, it's weird, right? Winning by yourself is totally different than winning with a team.
Yeah,
Mhm. But it takes a
totally.
team to win. Anyways, well, I guess I got nothing else for you. I don't think. I
Well,
guess I better go back to the real world
I've got
soon.
something for you. Your
Oh
little
dear.
old tally. Let me get
You
it
did
ready.
keep score through in this. I only said run amok 5 times. Guess
I
that's
know,
6
and you
now.
only said fun is fun twice.
That's not, I see. I'm not getting too repetitive, folks. You can keep listening. I'll come up with new sayings soon, right? Like, that's hockey, or
That's hockey.
taking the hockey out of hockey. Well, thank you so much for coming to the shed. I gotta
Wow,
figure out,
great to speak to you.
what's your nickname?
I don't know, either Vic or Silves. I don't really have a proper
Vic or
nickname.
Silves? So
Yeah.
in hockey, your nickname's probably gonna be Woody, just so you know. Silverwood,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Woody.
no, I've not had that before. I quite like
I
that.
I already got a Woody though. We had a Woody that
Well,
lived in our basement. Kevin Wellwood, but yeah. But I'd say in hockey, you'd be a Woody. Thank you so much for coming to the shed, and it's been great. Made my day.
great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me in. I like the shed. I like what you've done with it.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep decorating. And this has been another episode of Zero L's and Hockey Tales with Woody and Wally.